Have you ever wondered why the toughest people you know are actually the most fragile inside? Today I'm going to blow your mind with a psychological truth that will change how you see everyone around you. Friends, write in the comments where you're watching us from, and hit like if you want to know what the most unexpected thing is. So what's really happening here? Why do the hardest people crumble like cookies when nobody's watching? The answer lies in something called emotional armor. Think about it. When you're constantly hurt as a child, what do? You build walls. Thick, impenetrable walls that nobody can break through. But here's the twisted irony. Those walls that protect you from pain also trap you inside with all your emotions. It's like living in a soundproof room where nobody can hear you scream. The cruelty wasn't her nature. It was her survival mechanism. She learned that showing weakness meant getting destroyed, so she became the destroyer first. But why do tough people attract more pain? It's like the universe has a sick sense of humor. The answer is simple. They're magnets for toxic relationships. When you don't show vulnerability, you attract people who mistake strength for an invitation to dump their problems on you. They think you can handle anything. Remember Tom from accounting? Never complained, never showed stress, always said, "I'm fine," when asked. Until that Tuesday morning when he didn't show up to work. Ever. His breaking point came not from one big event, but from 1,000 tiny cuts that he never allowed himself to acknowledge or heal from. The science behind this is fascinating and terrifying. When we suppress emotions, our stress hormone cortisol doesn't just disappear. It builds up like pressure in a volcano. Eventually, that volcano erupts. And when tough people break, they don't just crack, they shatter completely. The fall is always harder when you've climbed so high. Here's what most people don't understand. Behind every harsh person is a story of betrayal, abandonment, or abuse that would make you weep. Responsibility was thrust upon her before she even understood what childhood meant. She learned that being soft meant letting people down, and she couldn't afford that luxury. They're like wounded animals that bite the hand trying to feed them, not out of malice, but out of learned fear that every extended hand eventually becomes a fist. Research shows that people who experienced early emotional neglect have brains that literally develop differently. The areas responsible for trust and emotional processing are smaller. It's not their choice to be guarded. Their neural pathways were carved by survival, not by choice. They're prisoners of their own protective mechanisms. I witnessed this transformation firsthand with my friend David. For 40 years, he was known as the guy who never smiled, never showed weakness, never let anyone close. Then he met someone who didn't try to break down his walls. She simply sat beside them until he felt safe enough to open the gate himself. The change wasn't immediate. It took 3 years of patience, understanding, and consistent proof that vulnerability wouldn't lead to destruction. So the next time you encounter someone who seems cold or harsh, remember, they might be fighting battles you can't see, with weapons they forged from their own pain. The biggest tragedy isn't that they're tough. It's that society taught them that toughness and tenderness can't coexist. But they can, and they should. Their depth of emotion, once unlocked, is proportional to how tightly they kept it contained. The same intensity they use to protect themselves becomes their superpower for loving others. What can you do if you recognize yourself in this story? First, acknowledge that your toughness served a purpose. It kept you alive when you needed it most. But ask yourself, do you still need that level of protection? Are the people in your life today the same ones who hurt you yesterday? Start small. Share one tiny vulnerability with someone you trust. Notice that the world doesn't end. Your strength doesn't disappear when you show your humanity. The most courageous thing you can do isn't building higher walls. It's having the bravery to lower them when it's safe to do so. If you know someone who fits this description, be patient with them. Their coldness isn't personal. It's protection. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is simply not give up on them. The world needs people who are both strong and soft, who can fight battles and tend gardens, who can weather storms and appreciate rainbows. So tell me, have you recognized yourself or someone you love in this story? Share your thoughts below, and remember, your toughness is your survival story, but your tenderness is your growth story. Both are equally valuable.